What is Basel Accord? The Basel Accords refer to the Banking Supervision Accords, recommendations on the banking regulations, Basel First, Second and Third, issued by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. They are also called the Basel Accords as the BCBS maintains its secretariat at the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, and the committee normally meets there. The Basel Accords is a set of recommendations for the regulation in the banking industry. Basel First. Basel First is the round of deliberations by central bankers from around the world, and in 1988, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision in Basel, Switzerland, published a set of minimum capital requirements for banks. This is also known as the 1988 Basel Accord and was enforced by law in the Group of 10 country in 1992. A new set of rules known as the Basel II was later developed with the intent to supersede the Basel First Accords. Basel II. Basel II is the second of the Basel Accords, now extended and partially superseded by Basel III, which are recommendations on banking laws and regulation issued by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. The Basel II Accord was published initially in June 2004 and was intended to amend international banking standards that control how much capital banks were required to hold to guard against the financial and operational risk banks face. These regulations aimed to ensure that the more significant the risk a bank is exposed to, the greater the amount of capital the bank needs to hold to safeguard its solvency and overall economic stability. Basel II was implemented in the years prior to 2008 and was only to be implemented in early 2008 in most major economies. The financial crisis of 2007 to 8 intervened before Basel II could become fully effective. As Basel III was negotiated, the crisis was top of mind and accordingly more stringent standards were contemplated and quickly adopted in some key countries including the Europe and the US. Basel III. Basel III is a global voluntary regulatory framework on bank capital adequacy, stress testing and market liquidity risk. This third installment of Basel Accords was developed in response to the deficiency in financial regulation revealed by the financial crisis of 2007 to 8. It is intended to strengthen bank capital requirements by increasing bank liquidity and decreasing bank leverage. Basel III was agreed upon by the members of Basel Committee on Banking Supervision in November 2010 and was scheduled to be introduced from 2013 until 2015. However, implementation was extended repeatedly to 31st March 2019 and then again until 1st January 2022. The Basel III standard aims to strengthen the requirement from Basel II standard on banks' minimum capital ratio. In addition, it introduced requirements on liquid asset holding and funding stability, thereby seeking to mitigate the risk of a run on the bank. Now I am telling about what are the objectives and aims of the Basel III measures. Basel III measures aim to first, improve the banking sector's ability to absorb ups and downs arising from financial and economic instability. Second, improve risk management ability and governance of banking sector. And third, strengthen banks' transparency and disclosure. Thus, we can say that Basel III guidelines are stressed as the new guidelines are more stringent than the earlier requirement for capital and liquidity in the banking sector. What are the major changes proposed in Basel III over earlier Accords, that is Basel First and Second? First, better capital quality. One of the key elements of Basel III is the introduction of much strict definition of capital. Better quality capital means the higher loss absorbing capacity. This in turn will mean that bank will be stronger, allowing them to be better withstand periods of stress. Second, capital conservation buffer. Another key feature of Basel III is that now banks will be required to hold a capital conservation buffer to 2.5%. The aim of asking to build conservation buffer is to ensure that banks maintain a cushion of capital that can be used to absorb losses during periods of financial and economic stress. Third, counter-cyclic buffer. This is also one of the key elements of Basel III. The counter-cyclic buffer has been introduced with the objective to increase capital requirement in good times and decrease the same in bad times. The buffer will slow banking activity when it overheats and will encourage lending when times are tough, that is in bad time. The buffer will range from 0% to 2.5%, consisting of common equity or other fully loss absorbing capital. Fourth, minimum common equity and tier first capital requirements. The minimum requirement for common equity, the highest form of loss absorbing capital, has been raised under Basel III from 2% to 4.5% of total risk weighted assets. The overall tier first capital requirement, consisting of not only common equity but also other qualifying financial instruments, will also increase from the current minimum of 4% to 6%. Although the minimum total capital requirement will remain at the current 8% level, yet the required total capital will increase to 10.5% when combined with the conservation buffer. Fifth, leverage ratio. A review of the financial crisis of 2008 has indicated that the value of many assets fell quicker than the assumed from historical experience. Thus now Basel III rules include a leverage ratio to serve as a safety net. A leverage ratio is the relative amount of capital to total assets. This aims to put a cap on swelling of leverage in the banking sector on a global basis. 3% leverage ratio of tier first will be tested before a mandatory leverage ratio is introduced in January 2018. 6. Liquidity ratio. Under Basel III, a framework for liquidity risk management will be created. A new liquidity coverage ratio and net stable funding ratio are to be introduced in 2015 and 2018 respectively. The Basel III guidelines are based upon three very important aspects which are called three pillars of Basel II. These three pillars are minimum capital requirement, and second supervisory review process, and third market discipline. First pillar, minimum capital requirement. The first pillar, minimum capital requirement, is mainly for total risk including the credit risk, market risk as well as operational risk. Second pillar, supervisory review process. The second pillar, that is supervisory review process, is basically intended to ensure that the banks have adequate capital to support all the risk associated in their businesses. In India, the RBI has issued the guidelines to the banks that they should have an internal supervisory process which is called ICAAP, or Internal Capital Adequacy Assessment Process. With this tool, the banks can assess the capital adequacy in relation to their risk profiles as well as adopt strategies for maintaining the capital levels. Apart from that, there is another process stipulated by RBI which is actually the independent assessment of the ICAAP of the banks. This is called SREP, Supervisory Review and Evaluation Process. The independent review and evaluation may suggest prudent measures and supervisory action whatever is needed. The ICAAP is conducted by banks themselves and SREP is conducted RBI, which is along with the RBI's annual financial inspection of the bank. Third pillar, market discipline. The idea of the third pillar is to complement the first and second pillar. This is basically a discipline followed by the bank, such as disclosing its capital structure, Tier 1 and Tier 2 capital and approach to assesses the capital adequacy. How Basel III norms will affect Indian banks. The Basel III, which is to be implemented by banks in India as per the guidelines issued by RBI from time to time, will be challenging task not only for banks but also for Government of India. It is estimated that Indian banks will be required to raise 6 lakh crore rupees in external capital in next 9 years or so, that is by 2020. Expansions of capital to this extent will affect the returns on the equity of these banks, especially public sector banks. However, only consolations for Indian banks is the fact that historically they have maintained their core and overall capital well in excess of the regulatory minimum.